Remember the days of Game Boys and PSPs in your pocket? Well, Retroid just shrunk that nostalgia down even further. This is the Retroid Pocket Mini V2. Can it really handle your favorite retro games, or is it just banking on that nostalgia? What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we're going to find out if this compact console can actually deliver on big retro vibes, and what glaring mistake Retroid made, even here on version 2. Let's take a look. Before I forget, there's going to be links to everything we talk about today down in the thingamabob down below. Links to get this handheld and some others. If you use those links, it does help support the channel, and I do appreciate it. Now let's take a look at this bad boy. Even with the addition of some really impressive smaller Android handhelds that have come out here over the last year or two, my favorite small Android handheld has been, since the day it came out, the Retroid Pocket 2S. I was waiting for Retroid to make another one of these for, the last year and a half. And this thing is still one of my favorites in my collection. I still use this thing all the time. It's one of those devices that as a reviewer, we always tell everybody how good it is, but then we never make content with it. And that's partly just its filming is difficult with this particular handheld because of the screen size, but it is comfortable somehow, even as a square box. It fits nicely in your hands and everything is positioned correctly. This is one of those handhelds where even the sticks being lower fit right where they're supposed to. It's kind of weird like that, but you do have the ability to twin stick this one if you want to, even with the sticks on the bottom. Probably the only time you're ever going to hear me say that. But now in 2025, Retroid didn't give us another 2S, but they did give us the Retroid Pocket Mini, which is a valuable upgrade for sure. This makes the 2S not as hard to not have in my hands. This has become a really fun mini handheld, and I love almost everything about it. I love that it's all blacked out, or as they say around me, murdered out. Everything's black on black. I'm just digging how they did this handheld. Buttons, everything work really well on here. Everything feels good. They did a really good job. And even for a smaller handheld, you can use joysticks on here with it on the bottom, similar to the 2S. It's just the way they designed it. And actually, the grips here on the back are almost designed for that to happen. But this handheld still has one glaring problem that they easily could have fixed going into version 2. Like, the biggest problem it's not the biggest problem with the first one, but one problem that they've had since the first one that easily could have been fixed here in version 2, and I don't understand why they didn't do it, and nobody ever talks about it, so we're going to get into that here in a little bit. First, what we're going to do is we are going to go over the I/O of the device. We're going to go pretty quick in this video because I actually picked this handheld up to do something completely different. I picked it up for a project, so that is in the works, and you will see that content here soon. But in the meantime, I thought I would give you just my once-over of the version 2. There hasn't been a ton of videos made on it yet, and I've been using this for a few weeks now, and I'm really digging it. And so I just wanted to get an opportunity to come on here and talk about it a little bit. So let's go through the I/O here real quick. And as we always do, when we talk about the I/O, we are going to start here on the top. We do have our left and right shoulder buttons, as well as our triggers. And these all feel really nice. We do have our power and then our volume up and down. And we do have exhaust here for our fan. So we have an intake and exhaust. The other one's right here on the back. So pretty snazzy. On the left-hand side, we have nothing, and on the right-hand side, we have nothing. On the bottom down here, we do have our spot for our memory card. It's a TF hole right there, or SD hole. We do have a 3.5 hole, and then a Type-C hole, which is also display out. So this does have display out, and that comes right out of that hole right there. On the front here, we do have our start and select buttons, or plus and minus, depending on what generation you grew up in. We do have a back and a home button. Something that we were missing there on the Flip 2 is that back button, but now we do have back and home on this one in particular. We do have dual speakers. They do come out the front, and they do sound pretty good coming right at your face. As far as our D-pad goes, they do have a solid D-pad on here. It's a typical Retroid D-pad. Nothing too crazy, a little click, but nothing crazy. Feels good. And then as far as our face button goes, these are louder than loud, and everybody's been complaining about it, but honestly, I don't really notice it unless I'm intentionally listening for it. It's not something that catches me off guard, and I don't know if that's just because we've been doing so many handhelds lately that have had creaky buttons, but they don't really bother me. But I did pick up the extra buttons when I ordered this to kind of cut them down and try to make these a little quieter. So that might be a project we'll do here on the channel, or I'll just do it on my own. And then we do have these Hall Effect sticks that are in here. I love these sticks. These are the sticks that Retroid and AYN both use. I'm just digging them. And then there is LEDs around these sticks as well, so they can glow. And then right here, we do have the same screen that was on here before, just not covered up in version 1. Here in version 2, it is uncovered. Also the same screen you will find in the Pocket Classic from Retroid. This is a 3.92 AMOLED display at 1240 by 1080 at 60 FPS. That was hard to say because that is not a resolution we use very often. It's actually 32 by 27. It's closest if you were to shrink it down. I know everybody wants to say 5 by 7. According to the maths anyways, when I go online and do it and put it in the calculator, its closest would be a 5 by 4. But 31 by 27 works pretty well too. It's almost a square, and so you can kind of get away with stretching stuff a little bit. It doesn't really have to stretch very far. Also, this is an AMOLED display, so if you don't stretch it and you just leave the black on there, you really can't see any borders. It is really, really nice like that. So everything just blends in. Sure, the screen might get a little smaller, but you don't really notice it because of it blending in. I can't usually tell the difference. So that part is really nice. The other specs I think I'm going to go over here, because this is the same as the other Retroids that are out here, is this does have that Snapdragon 865 with the Adreno 650 GPU. Now that GPU is money because that allows you to use Adreno drivers, which means that we can make more things work that wouldn't normally work. And this does use that same single driver that works on almost everything that we saw on the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. So we are kind of right there in the money shot for this one. Now the build quality on this is superb. And if you ordered an actual V2 instead of just getting a screen replacement, you are going to end up with the burned out or black on black, like I said before. Black buttons, black everything on here. One thing that kind of sucks about this black, unfortunately, is it gets scuffed and gets fingerprints from everything. In fact, I just washed my hands and we're already leaving fingerprints on here, so the oils are still coming out. Now, I did put the screen cover on here, which does actually raise or kind of fill that gap between the buttons and the screen, so they're not going down quite as far, probably, likely, maybe not. That's in theory anyways, so that might be why the noise isn't bothering me as much. But also the screen cover here does cover everything. It's not the hardest, but it's also not the easiest screen cover to put on. It's very similar to the Retroid Pocket 5. Back to the screen cover, I wish that would have come out for the Odin 2 Portal, but unfortunately that one just covers the screen, so I'm like everybody else, and I put it on and took it right back off because it looks absolutely like garbage. If it was something like this, it would make a lot more sense. But Retroid did a very good job on this build here and how they put this together. Now, we don't need to do a ton of gameplay or anything. This is going to play the same as the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. Some of my favorite things, though, on here are the ability to use GameHub. I use it on this handheld more than the 5 or the Flip 2. The reason being is a lot of my backlog was Steam, which is what I'm typically playing on here. Let's see, sign in here real quick. But a lot of my backlog here on Steam is going to be smaller, like cozy-ish games. If you missed it, I just did a video with top Android games, and some of the games that I put on there I actually play right here through GitHub off of Steam. So UFO 50 is one of my favorite things that you can get on Steam, and I typically would play that. If this was a Linux, or if I put Linux on here and switched over, I'd be playing that through Portmaster, but without Portmaster, you can still play it through GitHub. The game I play the most on here, though, is The Last Campfire, and I think this game was specifically made for the Retroid Pocket Mini. It just looks so damn good on it. But it's also amazing how this is like a PS2 trapped inside of a little handheld body. This thing does very well. It plays a majority of your PS2 games, maybe 80%. It's going to play pretty much every GameCube game, which is pretty phenomenal. And then everything below that, your Dreamcast, your PS1, your PSP, all that stuff's going to play on here very well. Now, your scaling is a little weird, but on things like GameCube, if you full screen it, it really doesn't make a big difference. It's stretching it just slightly. Everybody gets a little bit taller, but it's not that noticeable. Or even if you just run it at normal and let those black bars just soak into the AMOLED display, it really doesn't get in the way. And the fact that this has the performance to play these systems in such a compact handheld is just so good, and it's so comfortable. You can actually play FSPs with this, which is weird because, I don't normally like the sticks on the bottom. But with the ergonomics on here, the way your hands hold, you can do this without having to get a separate case like you do on the Retroid Pocket 5. With the Retroid Pocket 5, because it is so flat, you do need to actually add a case to it. Probably clean off that screen before you put it back up there, huh? With the Retroid Pocket 5, you do actually need to have a case on here just because it's so flat. Otherwise, you can't play with these sticks down here very well. And I did talk about that in my review, and you can find that on my channel. I'll put a link to it down on my thingamabob. But this, if you are a Retroid Pocket 5 user, this case is a game changer for sure. There's no way that I could use this handheld the way that I do without this case on there. I know there are some people that think it's fine, but there is no ergonomics on this device to begin with. If you look at the back of it, it really is just kind of a weird bump. And they probably are about the same size as the ones on here, but because this device is smaller, more compact, they actually work. Here they're stretched out so much that it just doesn't do anything for you. It looks cool, and it's got like some grooves on it, so you think it might like help with slipping, but it doesn't. This thing's all over the place without this grip. But once you put this grip on, this is a fantastic handheld. Now I get what all the hype's all about. But we're not talking about that one today, because I am really digging this Mini V2. And just the things that you can play with it. It plays Android games very well too. There's very few Android games you can't play on here, which is really cool. It's nice to have a handheld that plays very well with Android. So here we are running 60 FPS at 2x resolution here on PS2, playing on Nether SX2. This thing is just killing it. And we are in normal performance mode. We are not in high performance mode on the handheld. Obviously, I've got this stretch to fit the screen about right. All right, here we are playing GameCube at 3x resolution. Okay, I'm shifting. I don't remember what the go button is here. Here we go. Now I gotta play catch up. I don't know if it's just me when I play this game, but I feel like the controller vibrates during the entire game when you play this game. I never really think about it until I play it again the next time, and then I'm like, ah, controller's vibrating. I am so getting my butt kicked. I didn't know which one was the gas. I know there's going to be people asking if you play PSP on the Mini V2, and you definitely can, but I don't know that I would recommend it. Emulating 16:9 handhelds is a little tricky on here. Now, some of the emulators do have widescreen hacks, so some of those systems are a little bit easier to play, but when you look at something like PSP and all your games are going to be 16:9, it is going to be a little bit tiny. So it really is what you want to put up with, I guess you could say, because the PSP is going to play fantastically on here, but you might be better off getting a Retroid Pocket 5. And if you do, you're going to want a grip. That way you can use the joysticks. As far as systems like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, those are going to look fantastic on here. Those systems are going to be near pixel perfect for the Mini V2, so you are going to have a fantastic time, and you'll be able to bump up the resolution and use a whole bunch of filters if you're into the filter thing. And it will look better than probably any other handheld you can do it on. And playing Game Boy and Game Boy Color on a horizontal handheld is an entirely different experience than playing it on the original verticals. I actually kind of prefer it. Before we conclude here, just as a reminder, there's links to everything we talked about today down in my thingamabob down below. If you do purchase handhelds from those links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help support the channel. And I do appreciate it. That helps me bring you more content. Now let's find out if we should get it or not. So all in, I think this is an absolutely fantastic handheld. I really do enjoy it. I find myself playing it all the time. It really has taken over from some of my other handhelds. But it is also just a good one that fits directly into your pocket. You don't really have to worry about it. And for some reason, I haven't ripped the sticks off this yet like I do on most of my other handhelds. So I have been really impressed by that as well. And I think it is a good upgrade to the RP2S, as much as I still miss having the RP2S. The ergonomics on here are better, and obviously the AMOLED screen is better, and the fact that it has a Snapdragon processor with that Adreno GPU. There's just so much more you can do on this handheld. So even though it's a little bit bigger as far as the screen size goes, the physical body of itself isn't really any bigger, and I think you have a lot more options when it comes here to the Mini V2. But now let's address the one glaring issue with this, because it is an absolutely beautiful handheld. Like I said before, it is murdered out. It's black on black. It's unfortunate you can't get other colors, but that's not really the biggest problem here. In fact, when I ordered it, I did order it with a bunch of different accessories, all the buttons, everything else. I was actually going to change out all the buttons and the joysticks and the triggers and everything for orange, but that's the one color that Retroid doesn't sell on their website. But I wanted to get the buttons anyways, because I think I'm going to try to do the mod here that makes them quieter, even though they don't really bother me. And I'm realizing now that the noise is on the way up. It's not on the way down. It's actually the release coming back up, so it's the button hitting the bottom of the shell. That totally makes sense. But I'm going to go through and we are going to do something with it. What color buttons should I go with? We have red, we have the skills buttons, and then we also have another set of black buttons. Let me know down in the comment section down below what I should do with this bad boy. These here are for my Odin 2 portal. But now for that one glaring problem here with the murdered out Retroid Pocket Mini V2, it is these screws. I don't understand why they put in silver screws. It drives me insane. They're both on the top and the bottom. These little screws right here. I will be replacing those. I was actually going to. I have a screw kit right here, and I'm realizing now that these screws are going to be too small. Maybe. I think they're too small. They definitely have smaller heads on them. Let's take a look. I'm not sure that this is going to work, but we're going to try it anyways. There's no reason to have a silver screw in something that's all blacked out. Yeah, these are too short, I think. That just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, these screws, well, I've got two 2 short ones. Yeah, I only have 2 short ones in here. God, that's disappointing. let's find out if they fit. Maybe I'll just put them on the top. And of course I took out one off the bottom. So let's put this one back in. We'll just wait. Maybe I have more than... Oh boy, I'm never gonna find these screws again. It is the end of my little screws. Let's see what we got. Oh, look at that. We do have 4 of them. Look at this, we can fix this bad boy up right away. Unless these screws are too small. Oofda, they might be. I haven't even opened this thing up yet, but you know what? We're gonna switch out screws if we can. I can't even get my fingers on these things, they're so small. Oh, I stand corrected. They're even threaded right. Now that looks so much better. If those screws didn't work, I seriously was just going to color it in with a magic marker. But it worked, and I'm feeling so much better about it now. When you have one color handheld, you can't just put silver screws in there. It looks like an incomplete project. If you're going to do something, do it right the first time, right? It's amazing how one little fix can make everything feel so much better. So is a Retroid Pocket Mini V2 worth picking up? If you're after a tiny handheld that packs some serious power with like a dash of 2000 nostalgia, this little device might just surprise you, but if small screens and tight controls aren't for you, maybe stick with something a little bit bigger, like the Retroid Pocket 5. Still a great handheld, just make sure you get the grip. Either way, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Would you actually game on something this small? Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more retro tech deep dives, but that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, bye-bye!